Hi everyone, welcome to Lex Hope. Today, let's break down the most important Supreme Court judgments of 2026 and understand their real impact. Our first case is Adani Power Limited and another versus Union of India and others, reported as 2026 INSC 1, decided on 5th January 2026. The key issue before the Supreme Court was whether customs duty could be levied on electrical energy supplied from a special economic zone to domestic tariff area. Court held that no customs duty can be imposed without a clear statutory charging provisions under the Customs Act 1962. Since the law did not authorize such a levy, the demand itself was illegal. Importantly, the court reminded the executive that final judicial decisions are binding commands of law and authorities cannot refuse compliance. Supreme Court set aside the 2019 Gujarat High Court judgment and directed refund of the duty already collected. The judgment is significant because it reinforces the constitutional principle that taxation must strictly follow statutory authority and it protects SEZ investors from arbitrary fiscal demands. The next case is Gulfisha Fatima versus State, cited as 2026 INSC 2, decided on 5th January 2026. This case dealt with the interpretation of the term Terrorist Act under Section 15 of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or UAPA. The Supreme Court clarified that a terrorist act is not limited to the use of bombs, firearms, or explosives. Instead, courts must examine the intent, design, and overall impact of the alleged act. At the same time, the court cautioned that national security laws must be applied carefully, ensuring constitutional safeguards against unjust detention are not diluted. The judgment is crucial because it shapes bail jurisprudence and prosecution strategy in UAPA cases, striking a balance between state security and individual liberty. Now, next is Anjani Singh versus State of UP, reported as 2026 INSC 3, also decided on 5th January 2026. This was a criminal appeal arising from a 2004 murder case where conviction was based primarily on the testimony of a single witness. The Supreme Court held that although conviction can legally rest on the testimony of a sole witness, such evidence must be wholly reliable and of sterling quality. Since the testimony in this case failed to meet that standard, the court granted acquittal. The judgment reinforces a fundamental principle of criminal law: serious offences cannot justify dilution of evidentiary standards. Our fourth case is Pangati Vijaya versus United India Insurance Company Limited, cited as 2026 INSC 9, decided on 5th January 2026. The issue here concerned compensation for death of a driver and whether the death occurred in the course of employment. The Supreme Court restored the compensation awarded by the Commissioner for Workmen's Compensation, holding that the death clearly arose out of and during employment. The court also affirmed that insurer liability cannot be avoided once employment nexus is established. This ruling strengthens social security protections for workers and their families, especially in cases of fatal workplace accident. Our next case is Arvind Dham versus Directorate of Enforcement, reported as 2026 INSC 12, decided on 6th January 2026. The core issue was the right to speedy trial under Article 21 of the Constitution. The Supreme Court held that the seriousness of allegations cannot override the constitutional guarantee of a speedy trial. It observed that prolonged incarceration without meaningful progress in trial converts pre-trial detention into punishment, which is unconstitutional. This judgment significantly strengthens the rights of under-trial prisoners even in cases investigated by specialized agencies like the ED. Now, the sixth judgment is Commissioner of Customs Import versus Messrs. Welkin Foods, cited as 2026 INSC 19, decided on 6 January 2026. The dispute involved custom clarification of aluminium shelving used for mushroom cultivation. The Supreme Court ruled that these items must be classified as aluminium structures and not as part of agricultural machinery. This classification directly impacts the rate of customs duty payable. The judgment provides clarity on tariff interpretation and prevents misclassification that could distort revenue assessments. Now, the final case is Dalsukh Bhai, Bachchu Bhai, Satashiya and others versus State of Gujarat and others. Reported as 2026 INSC 21, decided on 6th January 2026. This case concerned land acquisition under the Urban Land Ceiling and Regulation Act 1976. The Supreme Court held that issuance of notice under Section 10, subsection 5 is mandatory and such notice must be served on the person in actual possession of the land. Failure to follow this procedure renders the action invalid. This judgment safeguards property rights and procedural fairness, especially in cases involving sorry, in cases involving state acquisition of private land. If this breakdown helped you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and comment below which Supreme Court judgment you want us to analyze in detail in the next video. Thank you for watching this video till the end.